You know what the problem is, right? It's the fact that everybody thinks they've got it all figured out. But if we're being honest, in the short period of time I've been on this rock, there's one thing I've realized. We don't know shit. Today I have one of the biggest men I've ever met, someone who's grown larger as time has gone on. You know him as Cousin Jake, or Jake something. He is an Impact superstar. How are you doing today, my friend?
Oh, I'm great, especially seeing how you said that I'm huge. So now I'm just happy.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were talking... Geez, not that long ago. It was maybe a couple months ago about the first time we ever met. Mm-hmm. And it was in Indianapolis, Indiana for Insanity Pro Wrestling.
And I was probably like 19 or
and
something.
I totally did not remember it all until you brought up me complimenting was it a book bag or a hat? I can't remember.
It was either my Slipknot backpack or my hat, but I probably had both. So
right. And then I was like, man, I was like, show me a picture of you.
Oh, yeah.
And then when I realized that you used to be part of the tag team, the Painkillers, it fucking blew my mind.
Right.
So, and I was just, in prepping for this, I was looking for pictures of you. And I was checking out your older photos too. And I was just like, man, it's such a huge difference,
right.
Pun intended, between then and now. So very impressive, man.
Cool.
You look like a goddamn monster now, which is good.
Yeah, it's not even on purpose. I think I'm just becoming that.
It looks good on TV too, and that's the biggest thing is you meet some guys who are like big, and then you see them in person, like, oh, you're not really that big, but it's like for you, you're big in person, and you look even bigger on TV.
Well, yeah, and that's awesome, especially because like I remember like especially when I first started wrestling, I just wanted to get as big as I could.
Yeah,
and then I thought that I was big because in comparison to a lot of other guys I was, and then I see like actual big guys. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Shit,
well, you see somebody like Billy Gunn.
Yeah,
That is a monster of a man.
He's a gargantuan human being. He's just supposed to be big.
See, I remember the first time I ever met X-Pac.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was on a show with him, and he opened the door for me. He's like, "Hey, thanks, man." And as I'm walking past, I'm like, "This motherfucker was a light heavyweight champion, and he was pretty big, even then." So yeah, I totally get that, man. But anyways, you know what? Let's get a little bit weird.
Cool.
So you like conspiracies, right?
Yeah, and no, here's the thing. I don't necessarily believe any of them.
Yeah.
I just like them. And I like looking at them.
That's perfectly fine.
And they freak me out. Kind of like, I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, but I can get spooked out,
Okay. So let me ask you this then. What is the most recent conspiracy that's really piqued your interest?
God, and honestly, this was actually like when I really was diving deep into this. This was probably a couple years ago, but it was like I was just looking at some Sandy Hook stuff, right? Just because, again, I don't believe it.
You're getting controversial already.
Oh, I know, right?
You're gonna get canceled.
Shit. Well, yeah, no, I'm looking at it, and like I said, I don't necessarily believe it, but I'm like, man, that's nuts. And if it was like a conspiracy or a cover up or this or that, like we wouldn't know because we only know what the media feeds us anyways, or anything like that. So it's like, man. So then as I'm doing that, it's like a rabbit hole. So then I'm like, oh, what's this one? Oh, what's this one? So then I'm just going on the list, and there's like presidential conspiracy theories, and I ended up watching this like 2-hour-long documentary, and it was pretty much showing that like, oh, every president is slightly related somehow, right?
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then a lot of Illuminati stuff, and just so as I'm diving into this, again, I'm not like, oh, yeah, that's for sure the thing. But then again, I'm not going to be like, well, that's impossible because you never know. Okay. But as I'm watching it, I'm getting kind of freaked out. And I'm like, looking over my shoulder. I'm like, hey, obviously, if the thing was true, it wouldn't be online. Like, it'd be pretty easy to get that down.
Not necessarily.
It was on YouTube.
So think of this. It really... lately you hear a lot about people trying to control the internet, censor the internet, because in all reality, the internet is the Wild Wild West.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, and the more that they try to put, cuffs on it, and all they're doing is limiting information.
Yeah.
So
which they've done time and time again.
Exactly.
Burning books, doing this, doing that, rewriting history.
Think about this. Before, you could get all your news from watching the TV, but now you can go online. Hell, you can go to Twitter and see what's going on in Malaysia.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that you should really distrust anybody who's trying to limit how much information you can get. It should be up to you to whether or not you want to decide if it's true or not.
Right.
Not the powers that be.
And I just always assume that everything is not true.
Yeah, well, you take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Ooh, excuse me. God damn it. That was disgusting. Sick. That tasted terrible. But I tell you what, real quick, two things. We're gonna go back to two things that you mentioned. Sandy Hook. I'll tell you the thing that bothered me about that.
Right.
There's two major things. One, when they first showed footage on TV, they showed someone in camouflage running from the school, and they caught him and they arrested him, but you never heard anything else about it.
Yep.
And the second thing is the dad who went on TV.
Was it one of the crisis actors?
Well, they were saying he was a crisis actor, but the thing that bugged me about him was he was like smiling and laughing.
Yeah.
Because they're filming him before he goes live.
Right.
And then he like almost centers himself and gets into character.
Yep, I
and
saw
starts
that too. Yeah.
Punching out the tears. And to me, I'm like, what? That's it. That's it. Because I got 3 kids. And if somebody killed them, I would not be laughing.
No.
I would be destroyed
forever.
Forever.
Right.
And I think the only thing that would keep me going is if I still had kids that were alive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be joking about it and smiling and then have to get into character.
Right.
Which
I don't get the point of a crisis actor anyways. Like, I've read reasons, but that just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, yeah.
Other than like, well, yeah, it's not all real, so they need someone to do that, right?
Exactly.
But because like you said, I don't even have kids, but if one of my kids got killed, like, I could very easily show that on TV.
The other thing is the coroner that they put on TV. God, he was
Yeah.
weird, like really awkward. And,
Yep.
And I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I don't know, but it's just things that are really, really weird.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not trying to get Alex Jones already and just completely wiped off the internet.
Right.
But, okay, that's a good segue. Alex Jones. So do you know one of the things that Alex Jones did in the early 2000s that kind of like really put him on the map?
And he's the one that, I mean, he's like screaming bloody murder, face red. He's that one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I get some of them confused. They're all the same to me.
Yeah.
Him and O'Reilly, all of them.
If you're not
the same
like,
person.
Alex Jones is the self-made one. But he's the red-faced.
Yeah. He did a thing one time where he's just eating like raw steak because he's a man. He was showing how manly he was. I don't know if
that
saw
sounds like something Alex Jones would do.
So I don't know what specifically.
So the thing that really like, and this is the first thing I ever saw of him. Have you ever heard of Bohemian Grove?
No.
Oh shit! Here we go. Okay, so Bohemian Grove is this resort in the Redwoods up in Northern California, and it's been around forever. And what it is it's like a men's club where they would go, all these powerful men, presidents, royalty, etc. They would go there for a weekend, and they would, have parties, and it was men only.
Right.
Here's the kicker. They worship a big fucking stone owl.
Okay, no, I have seen this.
Okay,
I just didn't know that was the name. Yeah.
So Alex Jones,
big flames and stuff. Right, yeah.
Alex Jones and one other guy, I can't remember who it was. They broke in or came in a back way, and they recorded it all. So you have all these powerful presidents, people in power centers.
And I saw a video of it, so maybe that's the video I saw.
Yeah, and there's a big stone owl, and Walter Cronkite, I believe, is the one who's actually doing the voiceover that you hear, which is wild. Like, why are these people?
Why is that a thing?
Why is that a thing?
Yeah.
Occultism. For one, occultism is just, by definition, is hidden. That's what it is. That's what it means is hidden, the hidden. But the ritualistic worshiping of a stone owl and robes
of anything,
and then lighting the effigy of a person on fire.
Yeah,
the cremation of care. To me, man, that is just, if that doesn't tell you there's some weird shit going on,
some very weird stuff,
not only in the United States government but just all over the world.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what else to show you.
Yeah.
But Alex Jones went on later to God, man, he ambushed this. I want to say he was a senator, and he goes, what do they do up there at Bohemian Grove? You're a member up there. It's like running around naked and worshiping a stone owl. When he goes, I don't know what you're talking about, and he starts sweating, and then he goes, oh yeah, I'm Alex Jones. We broke in there. That is creepy. Why did that come up? I'm turning off my Google.
Oh yeah, we're screwed now.
They know to us. My Google just activated. So, he goes, you knew going in there that you weren't allowed to record, and he's like sweating as he's saying this. He goes, oh no, I broke. I went in. They didn't know. And he goes, oh, you crashed it? Then I disrespect you for that. Blah, blah. Like he's just pouring down beads of sweat. And I remember just last year I saw him on CNN, the same guy, like 5 or 10 years later, and he's talking about the president and what's good for the country and how he's a terrible person. I'm like, aren't you part of the people who's worshiping a giant stone owl in the redwoods of California?
And aren't you guys buddies behind the scenes?
Yeah,
like, you're all just boys.
That's the weird thing.
Yeah, and that was that 2-hour-long thing that I watched. That was one of the things that was on there, and all so it's just all I'm watching all these things, and I'm just like, a part of me is like, well, if these people that are actually very powerful didn't want me to see this, I probably wouldn't be seeing this.
Yeah.
But then it's at 2 in the morning and it's dark out, and I'm hearing stuff on my porch while I'm looking around.
It doesn't stop me from getting any more paranoid.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And what's funny is, they're so powerful. They don't even really need to hide it.
No.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. We wouldn't be able to do anything about it.
And really, until you get somebody in who they're in power, who's like, okay, we're going to get rid of these people. You're pretty much stuck in the same cycle of like, let's be honest, it's evil.
Yeah.
It's
it's they would do anything to be the one that's in power.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter who is
and
stepped on or walked on,
and a lot of these people too. The rumor is that, and I think this is where like things with Jeffrey Epstein comes into play, like where it's like they get these people in compromising positions, and then they use it as leverage, to get favors, quote unquote. Which, speaking of which, you think that dude killed himself?
No, probably not.
The circumstances just don't add up.
Yeah, no, probably not.
He was getting ready to drop dirt on a bunch of powerful people.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, the guards are gone, the cameras are out. And
yeah,
he
that's like I barely believe in a coincidence as it is. Like, I'm talking coincidences on like a you and I level. Like, oh, coincidentally, I just looked into this spot. No, probably not. So shit like that, where it's a domino effect, like 13 different things have to go wrong or right to make that happen. No.
Yeah, it's almost like, well, he probably should have played the lottery after that.
Yeah,
but they think that was kind of because he was supposed to be a financier, but really he's taking these powerful people out to his island, videotaping them in compromising positions,
right?
To put it mildly, and then using that as leverage for whether that to be to get money for someone else or for himself, who knows? But they. There was actually a guy who flew a drone out over that island, and that
man is now dead.
Well, I tell you what, the motherfucker hasn't posted anything in a while. But it's weird because there's like a temple, and it's like there's a lot of weird statues. Like it's really bizarre.
Yeah.
And since all this came out, since he was, perished, I hate to say that. It's changed a lot. They've buried a lot of stuff. There's been excavating equipment on there. They think there was tunnels that they buried.
I'm sure.
So to me, that's all. I honestly think the more you get into it, because just you look at the symbolism of everything, and these occultists. The more research I do into it, symbolism's a big deal.
Yeah,
like they love putting
everything
everything. Like have you in that documentary? They probably showed the map of the state capitol.
Yep.
Where it's like a big stone owl. Come on, that was how long ago too?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I don't believe in normal coincidences, let alone that type of stuff.
And they're still doing this shit. Okay. Let's look at the dollar bill. Yep. The dollar bill has a bunch of cult symbols in it.
When you just look at like a dollar bill, and even if you go back into that time frame, that stuff doesn't make sense. That doesn't go with anything else that you would ever see in any history book that they're publicly just, shelling out. That stuff doesn't it just doesn't add up to what you would normally see.
Yeah.
So why else would it be on there? It's not something iconic for everyone back then to know, right? So it's why would that be the first thing that you put on this dollar?
Every symbol, I mean, everything they do is deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to U.S. currency.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is, the dollar itself or any sort of U.S. note is not government property. It's Federal Reserve.
It's its own thing.
So, which is weird. It used to be where a dollar was a receipt for a dollar's worth of gold, which is not the case anymore.
No, gold is just a thing now.
Yeah,
it doesn't correlate together at all.
Which some people believe that's one of the reasons why JFK was assassinated. Was because he wanted to audit the Federal Reserve and go back to a gold or a silver-backed currency.
And I remember a long time ago, like I said, I've always looked up conspiracy stuff, and I don't necessarily believe or disbelieve in it, but I remember looking up a bunch of JFK stuff or even fucking Marilyn Monroe stuff, where it's just
like a classic conspiracy.
Yeah, it's well, of course that's a cover up, and even the dude that totally didn't kill him that got busted for killing him, all of those things.
When they got Lee Harvey Oswald, he goes, "I didn't do it. I'm a patsy," and then boom, it just somehow
why would that happen?
Was his name Jack Rubio? I think it was the guy's name that actually shot him. Who was a gangster?
So. Yeah.
Somehow managed to sneak past the police and shoot him straight in the stomach.
Yeah.
So, my big thing about that, other than the fact that was definitely more than one shooter, was the fact that the pristine bullet that they just magically found laying on his pillow,
never,
just completely undamaged. Which I shoot, and but let me tell you, around after the actual bullet itself has been
once it actually
gone through anything, it is terribly misshapen.
Of course.
Especially a human skull.
Yeah, because bones are very hard.
Yeah, bones are very hard, and going at several thousand feet per second, you're not going to come out the same perfect shape of a bullet. Mm-mm. But that's, all that, it just, one cover-up after another.
Everything is, right?
And the fact that they told you that it was just one shooter before anybody even knew anything about it, like they're releasing it on the news. Back then was even worse. It was 100 times worse than what it is now because you had 3 channels, 3 news stations.
Yeah. They can completely control the narrative. Oh. Whatever they wanted to put out is what the news was.
Yeah, exactly. So, wait, what do you think the biggest one is? What do you think the biggest conspiracy, the biggest cover-up?
Oh, man. And I feel like, especially nowadays, a lot of people think this, but 9/11,
Think 9/11?
Yeah, just because it was such a, maybe I think it because it was during my, lifetime. It was the biggest one during my lifetime.
Yeah.
So
I remember.
Yeah, exactly, right? And even as a kid, granted, I was a dumb little shithead kid, so I didn't know, but I just remember seeing that and being like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then the news reports and differing stories, and just things like that. And again, you want to go back to other crisis actors, people that you've seen at different locations, not in the same state at all.
I love those pictures because they're you don't know if they're are they just close enough to where they look like that person?
Right. You never know. But it's why?
9/11, I think, was a good one.
Mm-hmm. That was probably the first conspiracy that
really interests you.
Yeah, and it was just because honestly, somebody made a cool video on YouTube that kind of summarized.
Oh, Loose Change, probably.
Yeah. And I think it had one of the songs from Fight Club or something.
Even my dad knew about that. My dad was completely illiterate when it came to technology. And
right, but he saw it.
But the thing that always got me about that was the World Trade Center was designed to be able to take, I believe a hit from a B-52 bomber, which was bigger than the planes that actually hit it.
Right.
So if you watch when the planes hit, they almost hit it like like the screen of a screen door.
Right. Yeah.
It just punctures it. And you look at that and you're like, there's not enough damage to start melting steel. Well, for one, they say that
the jet fuel does not burn.
Yes, that goes out to my boy Todd Schroeder out there. Not only do you have that and the numerous structural engineers that say, well, there's only been one still building to ever fall due to fire, and that was during 9/11.
Right, yeah.
And you look at Building 7 that fell into its own footprint without a plane.
Like it looked like a demolition thing.
Straight up.
Right? Yeah.
And,
but granted, and I don't know shit about anything. Like I'm not an engineer. I've never even properly blown anything up. Well, so if I see something like that, it's just like, I can read whatever online and just I have to believe that's what it is because I have no idea.
So let's stay on 9/11 for a minute, but let's switch over to the Pentagon.
Right. Yeah.
Pentagon's probably one of the most heavily surveilled areas on the planet.
How could that happen?
Okay. So you know how many angles they've released of that plane hitting the Pentagon?
0.
They released one.
Oh.
And it was a shitty film from a gas station.
Yeah.
The place is covered in cameras.
I do remember that. Yeah.
The place is covered in cameras.
That has as many cameras as like the Death Star had had fucking gunners on it.
Ridiculous, okay? And then when you look at the hole that it made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember that being like a very iconic picture.
Yeah. So I used to
like perfect hole.
I used to work I used to load planes. It was kind of a cool job. I used to load planes for UPS. And I've stood next to those planes, and their engines are bigger than minivans.
Yeah.
So you're thinking one of those hitting the side of a building, you're going to see some minivan-sized holes on each side of that other bigger hole.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, it looks more like maybe a projectile hit it.
Yeah.
That wasn't a plane. And
well, yeah, and that's the thing too, because it's just like there's so many different parts to a plane.
Yeah,
and it just acted as if it wasn't.
All of a sudden, it like folded its wings up and like went to a perfect cylinder
right
shape.
on in. Yeah.
The thing that bugs me about it even more than that is where's all the other camera angles?
Mm-hmm.
If that's what's really happened, just show them.
Just show it.
And they got HD footage even back here in 2001.
Oh yeah.
And you're giving us this gas station footage?
Yep.
Like for real?
Like you guys didn't have one camera?
I guess
they hit all the sweet spots.
And I think, don't quote me on this. I think the Pentagon actually has like anti-aircraft.
I thought that was the thing.
And that's either them or the white. I can't remember.
I can't imagine they both don't have that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That makes sense.
Yeah, that bugs me. Funny story about that, though. When 9/11 happened, I was in high school, and, I remember I was in math class, and someone came in, and they're like, oh, someone flew 2 fucking planes into... Well, first it was just one plane.
Yeah, yep.
And then I went to gym class, and they got it on the TVs in the locker room, and they're like, oh, another plane hit. And I'm like, oh. And then I saw my my English teacher. Now, my English teacher... He was awesome. Everybody loves this guy. He went to my first wrestling match.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's how cool he is.
Yeah.
He let me chop my friend in class. Now he would get totally deep shit for doing that. But chop my buddy in class. He was really upset because his brother worked in the Pentagon.
Oh shit!
And he couldn't get a hold of him. So he's freaking out and like tearing up. Then finally he gets a hold of him. He goes, "Man, are you okay? Were you in the building?" He goes, "Yeah, I was in the building." He goes, "Are you all right?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I was on the opposite side." He goes, "But I smacked my head on a door trying to get the hell out of there." He goes, "So that's the worst injury I got." But man, you think that's the biggest one though, in your opinion?
I solely based because that's what I have the most memory of because it happened like during my lifetime. But I know there's been other things that are pretty big conspiracy during like my lifetime. Like God, what was it? Like the London bombings? Was it? I can't remember. There was bombings in London within the last 10 years, right? And I remember there was a big conspiracy about that because, and the same with a lot of other situations like that, like with shooters or bombings that have happened in the last.
Kind of like the Boston bombing,
Yeah, exactly. They had like days before they had like almost trial runs of like. I can't remember what it's called.
Okay. So what they do, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It always seems that either during the situation or building up to it, there's always a training exercise beforehand.
Like to see what would happen.
9/11 was the same thing. That's why they didn't know if it was real or not at the Pentagon or at the White House because they were running a training exercise that was really similar.
Yeah. So and just stuff like that where it's like, I mean, again, I don't believe in coincidence, but I guess that could be one that happens every single time that happens.
I think, man, you ever watch Joe Rogan?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I think a lot of people do. He says something that it always sticks with me. Anytime that kind of doubt things, he goes, the universe is so vast, and it's an endless universe. Mm-hmm. And in an endless universe, anything is possible.
Anything.
So that's how I kind of look at it.
Oh, yeah. And then, okay, think of it like this. Like, think of just small time cover-ups, like with local cops.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking us and local cops. Mm-hmm. We are different species than people in the politics and stuff, because we are not the same. They someone in Donald Trump could shoot somebody ahead on TV and not go to jail.
Yeah.
So we are just two different species.
I don't know. They really want to get rid of that motherfucker. So
somebody does, but
funny thing about him, Newt Gingrich, that's a name everybody at least kind of knows, even if you're not into politics. So during the first election, the 2016 election, everybody was going after Donald Trump.
Right.
And I think it was either CNN or Fox. I can't remember which one he was on. Newt Gingrich, they were like, why is even the Republicans are going after him? And he goes, well, it's because he's not part of the secret societies. Dude, I spit out my fucking water. Right, I was like, did he just say that on live TV? And I was like, I couldn't believe that. And I was like, this is Newt fucking Gingrich.
Just say whatever he wants.
Well, he's not part of the secret societies. He's not part of any of the clubs. He's a true outsider. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh my God, he just said it on TV. And they just went right over.
Yeah, act like it didn't happen. Yeah.
And you know what? You'll never see it pop up again, unless it's in some conspiracy video.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and all I was saying a little bit ago was just that, like, so you can think of small time cover-ups just with local cops. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of towns have had things like that happen. If you think that's not something that can happen on a scale with people that actually have power, like they actually have technology and ways to make societies disappear, like of course that's happening. Of course, like absolutely.
Shadow government wars, etc. Mm-hmm. There was a senator, I can't remember his name. I used to have this picture saved on my phone, and it was one of his quotes. Mm-hmm. And he was a congressman or a senator, one of the two. And he said, you think of the worst things that could possibly be going on in government, and they're doing worse every single day. And this was someone who's in the government.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, there you go. I mean, you don't really need it explained to you by anybody else.
Yeah. And it's so layered too. Cause like say he knows something of like it's small. Yeah. And then there's someone above him. It's bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like, there's so many layers. It's like you have nobody has any idea.
Oh yeah. It's, some points it's compartmentalized and other points it's just one layer on top of another on top of another. You look at guys like George Soros and all these like big money guys who've been around for a long time, funding all these different things like through shell companies and whatnot. And you're just like, why are you doing that? If what you're doing isn't wrong, then why are you trying to hide it?
Yeah. Yeah. If you, in any situation, if you have to lie or hide something, it's probably not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally get that. Unless it's like, top secret national security. I get it.
Yeah.
But
they have but everything is said. And there's so many, like earlier I said, like, if I wasn't meant to see it, I wouldn't see it. Like stuff on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Because let's think of it like this. So, there's a lot of people that want to take guns away right now, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not for or against. I think
you consider yourself in the middle, moderate.
Yeah. Cause I see like good arguments on both sides.
Right.
It makes sense. But one of the arguments I always see that people pro-gun say, they're like, yeah, I want the chance to defend myself, like militia style, like if the government, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, doesn't matter what kind of fucking gun you have. If the government wants you to be dead, you're dead. Like one bomb, like a gun ain't going to stop that, right?
The defense I have for that is, and there's a lot of veterans that would disagree with you. Mm-hmm. We've been fighting a war for several years now against dudes essentially wearing nightgowns, shooting.
Right. Or at least that's what we think.
50-year-old AKs,
Yeah.
But if they wouldn't blow up, or if they would, like, they're always like, oh, well, the United States has nukes. It's like, well, why didn't they nuke Iraq?
And even for me, I think a lot of that stuff is even a level of a conspiracy, or like most wars, like I don't know. There's just
I tell you what, we're running out of time, but I'm going to end it with one cool thing.
Sweet.
So I worked with this guy from Iraq. Uh-huh. His name was Nadim, and he was something you don't find very often. in Middle Eastern culture, he was an atheist.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly the reason why you don't find it is because they could be killed.
Yeah,
for being
they'd be actually killed, yeah.
But he helped us out during the war as a interpreter and culture advisor because he was Kurdish. Mm-hmm. So when they first knew that we were going to go to war, he split town. He's like, he got the fuck out of out of Baghdad, and he's like, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting my family out of here. And then, as soon as we invaded, he signed up the next day. That famous video you see of them pulling down the statue of
Saddam, right?
Saddam. He goes, I was in that city the next day, and I was signing up. And he was telling me, he goes, so there's this palace that's set, one of Saddam's palaces that's set next to essentially a building that was their CIA or some sort of intelligence agency, and the Allies kept bombing it. We're not bombing the building, but they kept bombing the palace. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I just thought it was really weird. It's like, why wouldn't they be bombing the intelligence agency, the intelligence area? And why are they bombing this, bombing this palace? So fast forward, they get everybody out of there. This palace in particular had a big man-made pond in it, okay, with essentially a gazebo that sat in the middle of it and a bridge that went out to it. They drained this pond, and they brought in excavators and dug up something out of the bottom of it. And I said, what'd they dig up? He goes, I don't know, but they really wanted it.
Oh.
And I said, that's wild.
That's so weird.
And I was like, and the thing that brought it up is we were talking about ancient technology. Mm-hmm. Because Iraq, was I believe the Homo Sumer, which is the Sumerians, the first real culture that we know of.
Yeah.
They knew that we had planets, And he goes, maybe it was something to do with that. And I said, God damn it, Nadeem. I was like, now you got my mind racing.
You're like, all right, I'm going to go on Google.
But that being said, man, we're going to close this out. Where can they see you now?
On Impact, we just got a new TV deal with Access. Mm-hmm. So beyond there, not talking about conspiracy stuff at all. Probably not saying anything, actually. I'm barely wrestling on it. No, I'm just kidding. No, they just started using us pretty well, so that's cool. Besides that, I'm still doing my thing in the indies. So
right on.
AAW, Glory Pro, here at War, I'm just doing my thing, man.
Now, do you have a pro wrestling tee shop or anything like that?
I honestly do, but I don't care about it. I like selling my stuff on hand now that I realize I can make more money that way. So no offense to them, they can do their thing.
Nah, man, that's cool. That's cool. The fans like that.
Yeah, no, I got Twitter. If you search for Jake something, you'll probably find me. But it's at Jake something _ and then Instagram Jake something 27.
Right on, brother. Well, hey, it was good talking to you.
Yeah. Thanks, man.